I just got out of jail. Today's Thursday, and today's group was a little bit smaller, which is just fine because I know that the right women were in there. And today we picked up right back in the book of James. Today we were in chapter 4, and we started off talking about how you can't be a friend of the world and a friend of God. Like God specifically says that if you are a friend of the world, then you are his enemy. That's really strong, right? But I took them back to Exodus. And if you look back in Exodus 34:14, it tells us that God is a jealous God, right? So if he's jealous, he doesn't want our time to be split with the world because the world has never done anything good for us. The world is full of everything negative. So I go over with this with them a lot. And you can't go and listen to raunchy music and watch bad TV shows and go to the movies and hang out with crowds that is all anti-God stuff or cussing or drinking or murder or premarital sex or the list goes on, right? Because when we make those a part of our life, say, oh, it's okay, I know it's wrong, but I'm still going to allow it in. Well, later in that chapter, it talks about God as the judge and we're not to judge people, right? But let's take this to a courtroom. God is the judge. So now, when we start allowing all of those things into our life on a regular basis, and now those thoughts start coming at us, and now those things start attacking us, and we're like, but God, you got to protect me. God's going to say, oh, okay, I can't because you invited it into your life. And Satan's going to say, look, they do this, they do that, they're inviting me in. So God's going to say he's right. He goes by the facts. So how in the world can we still do everything in the world but still expect to be covered by God? We can't. We're an enemy of the God at that point. And when you're sitting in a jail and then you put it into a perspective of God is the ultimate judge and that we're always in a courtroom, that really resonates with them. And it comes down to facts. It comes down to proof. It comes down to what we are inviting into our lives is ultimately what is important. I brought up this video that I saw year 2, 3 years ago. I don't remember how long ago, and this person had a vision or a dream. I don't remember which one. And they're in the middle of the field and there's a fence down the middle of the field. And you have Satan on one side and you have God on the other side, right? And they say, you got to choose. And the guy's like, no, 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 no. I love my worldly stuff, but I also love God. Like, I can't choose. Like, what do you mean I have to choose? And they're like, you have to choose. You have to choose. So the guy thinks he's real smart, right? And he laughs and he says, oh, I choose the fence. Boom. Everything gets dark. Now, all of a sudden, the lights come on and there's Satan. And he says, no, 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 no. I didn't choose you. Satan goes, I own the fence. The guy chose the fence. Satan owns the middle ground. We always think we can be somewhere in the middle and ride the line, but the reality is Satan owns that line. And we don't like to admit that. We don't like to agree to that. We think we can go live our lives and do things and be in the world and watch what we want, listen to what we want, and we can still be covered by Christ. But God says in his word of God what is good, what is bad, and what to do. So when we actually study and read the word and make it a part of us, he's showing us exactly what not to do, what to avoid, how to act. He shows us that when we have those negative thoughts, we have the ability, when we're doing the right things, to say, Satan, you have no authority. I am a daughter of the king. I'm covered by the blood. So go away. We don't walk in our authority because we walk in the world. But when you start walking in your authority, when you start walking with Christ, then the enemy comes and attacks your thoughts and reminds you of your past. And then you feel negative. But then we are called to take every thought captive. So when we take every thought captive and we say, no, 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 no. If I was to go backwards and given that same choice, I would not make the same choice. I am truly repentative of what I did. Wow, I totally just said that word wrong, but that's okay. I repented for what I did. I wouldn't do it the same. Now you truly are absolutely sorry for what you did in your past. So Satan can't keep coming and reminding you of your past. So when he does, you say, I already brought this to the feet of Jesus. He forgave me. But you want to know what? One day you're going to spend eternity in the lake of fire. So keep reminding me of my past, and I'm going to remind you of your future. I heard that from Carmen. Such an amazing, godly artist. And I'll never forget that. I love that little phrase. But so I got to go over all of this with the women. And then I told them, I said, I want you to think of some time in your life that you were extremely proud of yourself and you just, it was such an amazing memory, right? And they sat there. And then I said, okay, now I want you to think of a time that maybe wasn't the best memory. You weren't really proud of yourself, maybe even embarrassed. Like maybe it's what brought you here, right? And think of that feeling. Now, that feeling that you felt with that time that you were really proud of you and you did something really good, that's how God feels about you. You are his daughter. Like he wants to wrap his arms around you. He wants to be your father. He doesn't want to be the judge. He is, but he's also a father and he has those feelings. Like he created those feelings in us because that is who he is and we were made in the image of God. But now let's go to that feeling that you don't feel so good about. When Satan makes you feel that way, like that's how he wants you to live. He wants you to feel down, stressed, depressed, whatever. But don't ever claim that over your life because there is power in the tongue, right? We went and we talked about Proverbs 18:21, that there is power, there is life and death in the power of the tongue. And so when I started reading and studying the book of James a couple years ago, like it really rocked me to my soul because I knew that there were things that I had said that weren't necessarily sinful, but they were, because I was talking about, even though I saw them, I witnessed them, they were my feelings, I had no right to judge and to voice some of my opinions because that's all they were. And we are not to judge other people. We are not to be the judge because only God is the judge. And so we see that as a reoccurring theme throughout the book of James. And that's what I got to leave the women with today is, you know, the tongue is a small member, but it's so powerful. It's, you look in James 1 and it talks about it's a rudder that, you know, compared to a big ship. And, you know, it's a tiny little fire that could burn down an entire forest. Like it's so tiny, but it is so powerful. So we have to be careful with what we say, with how we act, with what we watch, with what we listen to. Like God's saying, I got you, but you got to want to start changing. And in James 2, it talks about, or 3, I don't remember, I don't have my Bible with me, but I mean, it talks about that, oh, I lost my train of thought, but you know, it doesn't matter. But, you know, it's just, it was a really good time with the women today and talking about the word. And there's 2 women today that I'm not going to see again. One's getting bonded out. She just came yesterday, but she still chose to come to Bible study. Another one I've seen multiple times, and she gets out hopefully Monday. And this other woman has just transformed before my eyes, and it has been such a miracle. And I just am so grateful. And I got to look at these women and say, I never want to see you and me here again. Like, I hope one day I get to see you, whether it's on earth or in heaven, but I never want to see you here again. And the one that's leaving Monday that I've seen over and over, I said, it's about that Bible. I says, once you get out of here, don't let it get dust, because the women that let dust get on their Bibles are the ones that I see again. And I said, make him your everything. And so it was just a precious time to spend with some of these women that I know I'm not going to see again. The one woman, like I said, I'll see her next week and then that'll be it. She's out. And to know that I've seen such a transformation, that God has grabbed their hearts and that I've been a part of it, I'm not worthy. Like, I don't know why he's given me this opportunity, and I just feel so honored and blessed. But to know that God is working inside the jail and he's changing lives for the kingdom, it doesn't get any better than that.